Hi friends! Welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Caitlin. For those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you're seeing it again. Today we are doing 3 looks with the 3 Huda Beauty Brown Obsessions palettes. We have the toffee, the chocolate, and the caramel. And then I'm going to give you my thoughts on these palettes. I think for the most part, other than the chocolate palette, I think I've used every shade in the palette. So I think in the chocolate palette I was missing like 2 shades I hadn't used. So anyway, I give you my thoughts on the palettes, if I think they're worth it, if I don't think they're worth it, you know, that whole spiel. If that is something that you would like to see, then keep watching and make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and we'll go ahead and get on into it. First, I'm going to acknowledge that I look like a crazy person. I wiped off my makeup. I had like green liner that stained and then got all over my face, but we're going to cover that up. Once I'm done with this eye look, we're going to cover it up with concealer and do another layer of foundation and everything. So I'm not that worried about it. Anyways, okay, so this is going to be the look using the chocolate brown palette. I just feel like this palette matches the pants I have on the best. They're like a blue, brown, and white plaid. So anyways, this brown tone of browns matches the best. I was trying to think of what I want to do. I really want to play what stinks from the swatches, so we'll see how it looks on the eye. This is by far the deepest shade and it's a shimmer. This matte isn't as deep as it could, as I feel like you would need with like that deep of a shimmer, but maybe we can blend it into the crease and make it deeper and do like a really dark, I'm feeling a halo eye. I think that's the route we want to go. So let's see here. Let's get a transition brush. Okay, so this is the Morphe M518. We're going to go in with this middle shade in the second row right here. And since I want this to be a halo, I'm going to try and just keep this kind of a rounded crease. I don't want to wing it out necessarily. Okay, I think that's good. So we've just kind of built up depth in my natural sort of crease of my eyeball on my face. We're not trying to, you know, shape shift or anything or create like a different eye shape than what I actually have. We're just adding depth to what I've already got going on. This is a very, I mean, this shade looks really light in the pan, so just be aware of that, I mean, there's 2 pretty light shades in what this looks like. This, I feel like when I saw these, I thought this was going to be the deepest one, and it does go the deepest, but overall I feel like the palette has a lot of lighter colors that would really work best on fairer skin. But I mean, if you look at it in the palette, and maybe this is just because it's compared to darker shades, it looks pretty light, and I feel like it was able to blend up a bit darker on my eyeball. But I'm also very pale, so take all that with a grain of salt. Okay, let's blend this one out. So what we're going to do next is go in with this top shade to build up more depth in the crease, and I'm using my Morphe M506 brush. And so I'm patting this on the outer corners, outer and inner corner, I should say, of my eyelid, and then kind of taking it slightly up into the crease a bit. Okay, so now we're going to go back in. We're going to go back in with that Morphe M518 brush and that first shade we used, and we're just going to blend this all together. And you see how that looks so much better, like blended. We created a gradient, not blended. It's just kind of like all over the place. So that's what blending everything together does for you. Just makes everything look a bit smoother. So now I'm taking, this is a BH Cosmetics brush from the Crystal Zodiac collection. My number has rubbed off of it, but it's basically like a bullet or pencil brush. We're going to take this deepest matte in the bottom corner And I'm just gonna pack this on the outer corner again, but not taking it quite as far in. I think that actually created like a really nice gradient. I'm really happy with it so far. So I'm gonna go back in with that Morphe M506 brush and that this top corner shade, that medium shade that we used. This is hard because they don't have shade names. And I'm just gonna place that right over where we just put that deepest shade. And slightly above it. Basically where we just put it before, but we're putting it back on top. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going back in with this first brush, the Morphe M518. I'm not gonna put any extra product on here. I'm just going to blend what we just did all together. I think as far as like the matte shades go, I'm really happy with how that turned out. And right now, when I just blended that deeper shade got a little bit patchy, but I'm gonna build it back up once I get the shimmers on the lid, so I'm not too worried about it right now. So now what we need to decide is what I want to put. I feel like I want to go this shade and this shade on the lid. So what we're gonna do, so I sprayed my BH Cosmetics number 4 brush. It's just a flat brush, and I'm gonna first go in with this middle shade up on the top row. I'm going to try and keep this to the out just a little bit on right over where we put those darkest shades on the lid. So we're kind of using them or treating them as a little bit of a base. Okay, so we did that. Now what I want to do is, I think I'm just going to actually, no, we're going to take a different brush. So now I've sprayed my Morphe M124 brush with MAC Fix Plus. I'm going to try this bottom middle shade right here. We're just going to take that right down the middle. Oh, I really like how that turned out. That's super pretty. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in with that BH Cosmetics and that little slightly darker shimmery shade we used. I'm just going to blend in the like very outer edges because we lost some of that when we went over it with that gold one. Now I'm going to take that bulleted brush and that darkest matte shade. I'm just going to blend that or build that outer darkest shade up a little bit just to make it a bit deeper. Okay, so that's the top part of the lid done. I'm gonna go fix my face, put lashes on, and then we'll just come back for the lower lash line. So everything is done except for the lower lash line and lower mascara. So what I want to try and do for the lower lash line actually is bring in, so there's 3 shades we haven't used yet. We haven't used this shade. There's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're definitely not going to use all 4, but that darkest shade, I kind of want to try and put that close to my lower lash line, even though it's a shimmer shade. That's what we're doing. So I'm just going to take, this is an angled brush. This is the BH Cosmetics. It's the number 9 brush. It's just this angled eyeshadow brush. I don't have any Fix Plus or any product on this brush. And I'm just kind of putting that right up on my lash line as much as possible. I did tightline my waterline with like a purpley, almost brown eyeliner. So yeah, okay. So I think that's good. And then what I want to try and do next is, I think just go in, this is that Morphe M506 brush that we used with this top corner shade. I think I'm just gonna try and blend it out with that. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Okay, and then we're gonna go back in with that original Morphe M518 with that lightest middle shade that we used on. We're just gonna go over all of that and just blend everything together in with that lighter shade. Perfect. Okay, so now as far as the inner corner goes, I think I want to try and use this shimmer shade since we didn't use that yet. And I have a Sigma shader inner corner brush. This is the E46. We're going to try that without any Fix Plus. Let's just see what we get. So the shade is definitely darker than the one we put on the lid, but overall similar tones. Okay, so this is the finished look using the Chocolate Brown Obsessions palette. What do you guys think? I love it. I really like how this turned out. I'm excited to use this palette more. I think the shimmer shades are stunning. Let's see. So the only shade, so I used all 3 of the top shades. I didn't use this shade. Okay, so I haven't used 2 of the matte shades. But overall, so far, great first impression of this palette. So let's go ahead and move on to the next look. Okay, so we're again having just wiped off a different eye look and coming back to do a second one. So we're gonna ignore that my face looks all jacked up because I'm gonna fix it once I'm done with this eye look. So I actually used this palette earlier today, getting ready for work, and I really already used this shade and these 3 shades for like a super quick look, which I kind of wanted to make this a quick look too. So I'm trying to decide what I think would be fun. Let's see, I don't think any of these are, no, these are definitely pigmented shimmers. So they're not going to be toppers. I don't think I'm going to use the like entire rest of the palette for today's look. But I think I have an idea. I'm going to do kind of like a different eye shape than what is standard, I guess. So what we're first going to do is find a brush. So what we're first going to do is take one of these angled eyeshadow brushes, and I'm going to take this darkest shade in the corner here. And we're just going to create a winged liner shape with this shadow. Do you guys ever do a winged liner with shadow versus like a liquid liner? I love doing it. I don't know why, it just gives like a different look to the wing that I really enjoy. And obviously shadow is more forgiving, so if you're not good at wings yet, I highly recommend doing them with shadow first before moving on to like a liquid liner or gel liner, just because shadow's easier to manipulate and move around and fix than a liquid is. I say shadow, I meant like powder, which is what shadows are normally, like a powder product. You know what I'm saying. You're picking up what I'm putting down. Okay, so I think once I wipe off the bottom, that'll look better. So now I'm gonna take this is my Sonia Kashuk Petite Smudge Brush, and I'm actually gonna go in with this like more warm of brown shade, and we're gonna smudge that right along where we did that other shade, but we're gonna go slightly above so that we're kind of making this more of a messy liner versus a super clean structured wing, if that makes sense. This is getting even more uneven. Okay, so then what I want to do is I'm going to take a brush to put a shade in the crease, but we're not going to go all the way into the crease. We're going to keep it to the inner part. So I want a smaller blending brush. This is a fluffy brush like that, but it's not super thick. This is a Morphe M506 brush. We're going to take this gold shade in the middle, this golden yellow shade I should say, and I'm just going to put this in the inner corner like this, and we're just going to kind of lightly blend that. And I'm being light-handed because I don't want to get too much pigment. I'd rather have not enough and like keep having to build it up. So yeah, like that, where it's just like a light wash on the inner crease of the eye. I'm going to take this ColourPop L1 brush and we're going to go in with this golden shade down here. And that's going to be our inner corner highlight shade. Okay, that actually worked really well as an inner corner shade. And then what I think I want to do, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this brush and that lightest like pale shade, and I'm just going to kind of set my base in the middle between where we put that yellow shade and where the brown liner is, because I feel like they're kind of, with my base it's kind of creasing, and then we're getting everything all mixed up in here. So I just want to have a set base, basically. Okay, this is a pretty simple look, but it was fun. And I'm gonna go fix up my base makeup, put some lashes on, and then I'll come back and maybe we'll do the lower lash line, or maybe it'll be the finished look. I'm not sure if I really want a lower lash line or not. So this is our super easy and simple look with the Toffee Brown Obsessions palette. I really like it. I did a few things off camera. So I put this shade, I just put that along the lower lash line to give something in the way of shadow down there. And then I tapped this, which is more of like an iridescent topper. I tapped that over that center area to give more shine to the lid. And then that's actually the shade that I have as a highlight right now as well. And I really like this palette. Yeah, so now we'll go ahead and move on to look number 3. Okay, so we have our eyes primed. No half done face makeup this time. We are bare-faced. So I have used this palette once, and I'm debating on if I want to do the same look I already did or a different look. We did a halo eye with the first one. We did like a very kind of like simple winged liner situation with the second one. And what I did before was sort of like a cut creasy type thing. I feel like I want to use the other shades. I don't know if I'll like it. We're gonna do something different this time. Okay, then I can really have a better feel for the palette, you know what I mean? So we are going to start with the Morphe M518 brush, and I think I want to start, I think I'm gonna start with this brown. Let's see how light, if that can go as a transition shade on its own, or if I need to blend that out a bit. Not bad. It's definitely pigmented, but it's not like I can make that work as a transition shade. I will say, now that I've played with these palettes, I'm kind of surprised by how many lighter mattes there are. Although this dark shade here definitely performed like more of a satin than a true shimmer, and I kind of made it function like a matte by blending over it, so that does help to deepen the shades in this palette. But I mean, there's like, the darkest matte isn't that dark. I know that her mini palettes tend to be very hit or miss. I only have had 2 of the Neon Obsessions. I had all 3 of the Nude Obsessions, the Nude Light, Medium, Rich, etc. And I didn't have any issues with any of those mini palettes, but that's because I think the ones that like people seem to really have issue with were like the khaki Obsessions. Well, there's like the khaki mauve and like sand or something, and then the pastel ones are the ones that I know people kind of complained about the quality on. But I feel like the quality of these, I mean, I guess I could give you my full thoughts at the end. I could wait. I should wait. I'm going to speak to the mattes. For the most part, the mattes on these I haven't had trouble with. They've done what I've wanted them to do. The shimmers, I could see why, if you've watched other reviews, I've watched other reviews as well, I can see why people aren't jiving with the shimmers as much. I personally like I'm just gonna give it to you guys now. This shade right here is a very, like, this is actually probably the worst shimmer shade. I think this one, I don't mind when shimmer shades are like this though. Like, I don't mind the occasional shimmer shade that's not like, bam. Like, I'm gonna compare it to this one so you can see what I'm talking about. Like, do you see the difference? One's definitely like metallic, the other one's kind of like womp womp in comparison. I don't mind like lackluster shimmers because occasionally I think they're kind of fun to use, where it's just like a hint of sparkle and that's really it. But I can also see like why people don't like that. So anyways, okay, so now I'm gonna take, this is a Morphe E62 brush, and we're gonna take this darkest shade. I mean, this palette is definitely more like orange with a hint of brown than I feel like brown with a hint of orange. You know what I mean? Or maybe not orange, it's like just very rusty colored, like a rusty orangey vibe, which isn't a bad thing, but I just feel like these were marketed as like brown. I mean, it's called Brown Obsession, so I'm gonna take that first Morphe brush and just kind of blend. I mean, so that's, it like got kind of deep, but it's, I mean, I'm pretty pale, and that's the deepest matte shade. It does appear to build up. We might try and use that dark, like brown, almost black, satiny shade. We might try and deepen up the outer corner, because last time I did like a wing shape with it, so so let's use it. We'll use that one too and really see if it can function like a matte and for deepening your crease and things like that. Now let's go with, we're gonna take this BH Cosmetics 105 brush. It's like a little bulleted pencil-y type brush, and I'm just trying to pick up, okay, it definitely has a shine to it, this dark brown satiny shade. There's definitely like a shimmer situation happening. So now I'm going to go back in with that darkest like matte shade, that brown in the bottom corner, and we're just going to tap that right over where we just put that really deep satiny shade down. I do wish these palettes had shade names. I feel like that would help a lot. But I also get why they don't. It's fine. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in with that original Morphe M518 brush. I'm not going to put any product on it, and we're just going to blend so we can see how this works to blend. I mean, I feel like that worked. It's a little messy, but okay, so now what I want to do is we're going to use these two shimmers because I've already used the other shimmers, and then I think I'll have used every shade in this palette. Okay, so I sprayed, this is a ColourPop, just a flat brush from ColourPop. I sprayed it with MAC Fix Plus. Ooh, that's nice and fiery. I can't decide if this palette will like pair nicely with the Natasha Denona bronze palette or if it's going to be like a lot of duplicates. Because it's definitely giving me the bronze palette vibes. Okay, now we're going to go in with that red shimmery shade up at the top. Okay, I mean, I'm not mad at it. And then I'm going to go back in with that darkest shade, and we're just going to kind of blend this in. Do I like it better than the other look I did with this palette? No. But that look also faded pretty fast, which I'm going to talk about when I get to my overall thoughts on the palette here on the palettes, I should say. Here in a sec. I'm basically out of eyeliner, so I'm just gonna do a line on the water, or not on the waterline, on my lash line so that I can blend my lashes into it. But I really need to go buy some freaking eyeliner. This bad boy is dry. It's not even applying. Like, it's just applying really messy. Because it's so dry. Okay. Alright, that's the best we're gonna get. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up, do my face, everything else, and then I'll come back for the lower lash line, probably. As you can see, I went for a very bright orange lip, which is not really me at all, but I thought it might be fun because we have the orange eyeshadow. So yeah, anyways, I think I'm just gonna go in with this. I think I'm just gonna do a black liner in the waterline, and I forgot to do that, so be right back. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is grab an angled brush. This is my favorite brush to use for like really dark shades along the lower lash line. So this is like just an angled eyeshadow brush. We're going in with that deepest brown shade, and I'm just putting that right along the lash line and meeting where we kind of took that shadow up top, just kind of making it all meet together. I feel like this orange lipstick, which really it's an orange lip liner. It's the ColourPop Lippy Pencil in Absolute 0, and then I just put a ColourPop, I think this is an Ultra Glossy Lip in Updo, which is like a corally shade. I put that on top. So anyway, it's very bright, very orangey, and I'm not loving it. Okay, so now what I want to do is then I'm going to take that same brush we used earlier, the Morphe E62, with that darkest brown matte from the palette, and just putting that over where we put that lash shade. Again, meeting it up with the top part. Anyway, this lipstick's giving me strong clown vibes. I think I'm just not a orange lipstick girl. Okay, and then we're gonna take that lightest, not the lightest matte shade, that tan matte that I used before on this M518 brush. All right, so now I just need to do the inner corner, and I think I'm gonna go in with this shimmery shade that's supposed to be just like kind of a topper shade that doesn't have a ton of pigment. So that's basically the look. Let's spray. Okay, this is the finished final look. What do you think? Let's talk about this. I'm gonna keep my clown lipstick on. All right, so talking about the 3 palettes, if I had to recommend one, which one would I recommend? I do not know. Oh God. Okay, so well, let's talk about, so look number 1 was with the chocolate palette, And overall, I did not use every shade in this palette yet, but I liked this palette. I think it's a really nice, it like purpley brown tone, I guess, like a pinkish purpley brown tone. I feel like that's where Huda does her best work, is in the like, and she knows that too, you know, where it's like the pink purple neutrals, like the pink purpley tone neutrals. That's where she thrives. But anyway, I think this palette's really nice. I think these shimmers are stunning. Of the shades, I don't know which one, I don't think I used this purple one. And then I think, oh no, I did. I don't remember. You guys just watched it. I didn't. So anyways, I think the shades that I did use were phenomenal. I really, really liked this one. No bad things to say. And then the Toffee Brown Obsessions one, I liked this one too. I thought this marbly shade, which is supposed to be a topper shade, I really liked it actually. I used it as a topper shade with a different, I used my 420 palette and then actually pulled in just this shade because I wanted just like a barely there sparkle type of thing. So I really like that shade. I thought the mattes all performed nicely. The shimmers performed nicely. I didn't have any issues with this palette. I think either this brown or this brown I have not used yet, or possibly both. Oh no, I did use both because I did the winged with them. I think I've used every shade in this one. So no issues with that one either. I really liked it. And then this one I really liked as well. Didn't have any issues with the mattes. As you saw, that like satiny shade worked fine as a deepening up shade. That's one thing I will say about all of them. I don't think any of the three palettes has a super deep matte. Like even in this palette, like that deepest matte is probably the deepest out of the whole collection, and that matte and then also this purpley matte, they just don't go that deep. So if you really want a lot of depth, they don't go as deep as some other palettes, I should say, because they do have a range. Like all of them have like light shades, mid-tone shades, and darker shades. This one I would say, like as far as mattes go, this is the one with like the least depth as far as mattes go. But overall, this palette's nice. Like you can, as you saw, I mean, the shimmers look nice. It's like a fiery orange tone on my eyes. This shade, I tried to use this as a highlight because I used that topper shade in the Toffee palette as a highlight, and it looked stunning. On this one, it's a little bit too pigmented to do that with. So as a topper shade, I don't love it because the sparkle's not really there. You just have like kind of like a wash of orange with like not even a barely there sparkle. It's just kind of, I don't know. So anyway, this is probably my least favorite out of the three, but I also don't love super warm eyeshadow. So it's between the other two for a favorite. And I think I'd have to say this one just because it's the most unique and you have the most options with like, you have the sparkly shades, but you also have that topper shade, whereas this one just has true like sparkly shades. But overall, I like both of these a lot. I would recommend both of these. I don't know that if you like these color, like this tone, like really warm, bright orangey eyeshadow, I think you'd like the caramel brown. I just don't love that one shade, and for a palette that has 9 shades and is $29, not liking one shade is kind of a problem. Anyways, so those are my overall thoughts. I don't think any of these palettes are super unique and something that you just have to have in your collection. I'm sure you have them, but I will say I think personally the packaging is adorable, and I love Huda's like mini palettes. I think they're fun to, you know, whip out and use for a small color story. Like I said, for the most part, the quality on these was pretty good. But yeah, so that was everything. Let me know your thoughts down below. Which look was your favorite? Which palette do you like the best? Are you going to pick up any of these palettes? And other than that, I will see you guys next time. Bye!